Hey, hello everybody. Welcome to Speaking of Schmoedown, a sports talk show devoted to the movie trivia Schmoedown. I am Jay Wade, and with us here, as we have every week so far, on our fourth episode now, Double D. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great. It's been a long week, but I'm glad to be here.
Excellent. And we have Frenchie is behind the scenes now, as usual, and he'll be out here a little bit later as we do Frenchie's Corner, hard questions. Of course, our Dan, is going to bring us Double D's sexy numbers. Kate Mulligan will be on here a little bit later. But we've got another Schmo of the North. Daniel is here, or as I call him, your Daniel, your Dan when I'm talking to Louie. How you doing, Daniel?
Yeah, I mean, it must be something about being named Daniel because I'm also a numbers guy. Like, I look into like the stats of every player before like I really decide if I like them or not.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can't get too attached.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're gonna talk to us about the draft here, but real quick before we get into that, I do want to say we started this show off with Dean Lewis was on here with us. Great guy, love the guy. He started co-hosting SEN Afterlife with me before I ended that show. Unfortunately, he's not going to be continuing on this show. There's nothing went wrong. Nobody did anything wrong. We're going to work on some other stuff together, and I'll go ahead and tell you right now so it doesn't sound like I'm being fake. WandaVision on Merc with the Movie Blog review show is coming up that we're starting this Friday, which Dean is going to be on with myself and a couple other folks. So Dean is very much still going to be involved with other things, just not this show. But we loved him the first couple episodes he was able to be on with us. That being said, lots of stuff with the draft coming up. So we're going to kick it right now to Daniel, who's going to tell us what he's got going on or what information he has from the draft announcement so far.
Yeah, so I've been looking through like a number of different things and trying to figure out like who's going to be drafted and who's going to be kept and safe from the draft was kind of the first thing I needed to figure out. And I kind of went through the top singles players, top IG players, top Star Wars players, put them off the board, and I came out with an interesting first round that I put 12 names down, but we're only going to get 8 of these. But we're going to see names like Laura Kelly and Molly Damon and Marisol McKee. They're all going to go in the first round. Andres Cabrera is going to go in the first round. Eric Zipper is likely just below the bar of being kept on a faction, but could be kept by the dungeon due to loyalty factors. But he could very well go in the first round. I project names like Vinny Mancuso and Janine the Machine to be available in those top slots as well. And a lot of these are, surprisingly enough, very close to the elite tier, if not elite tier themselves. I tried to move the top of the pile to the safe players, but there are just only so many slots. I can see managers going to fill any of those potential spaces. And as we move into the many, many new players, we can see I did a little bit of work trying to track these players down. We have Nick Flickinger, who's a movie reviewer over on YouTube. You have Kim Taylor Foster, who's an editor over at Fandom, also on YouTube, and over on there, they have like a wiki page as well. I believe they actually own the wiki pages that are all the fan sites. Paul Walter Hauser, the actor from what's Cobra Kai? There we go. That was awful. And also just many other things. And I don't know if he's the best movie trivia player, but he, as a big name, brings viewers to the show and also could be a potentially very good player. Looking into my options earlier, I found Kevin Smith has a surprisingly high accuracy rate of answering questions, and he, if not kept, is going to end up in that first round as well, just based on his stats. And then we get into MTV News' Josh Horowitz is also going to be entering the draft. That's a completely new field of fans and such. So I'm very interested to see what he brings to the table as well. Then we get into like the lesser known rookies, but some of these people come from other leagues. Like we have the Rager, we have Jacoby Bancroft and Peggy Gubbins, who all come from various different other leagues that I could find tape on. And we had the Rager on. He was very interesting, a wild like character, and great game tape. Peggy Gubbins also has some pretty good game tape. She seems quite knowledgeable. Jacoby Bancroft's game tape went very well. He was playing at a pretty high pace already, and he seems to know the actual MTS game very well. And on the character side, Brother Lomas seems like a guy we really needed for the show, and I think he's going to be very great as a character to bounce off a lot of these other people we see in the Schmoedown. Other than that, we have some great audition tapes all around. I've been poring over like tape after tape. There's so many good ones. And Beth May is a great one to point out. She put out 2 different tapes. Both of them, the character seems very interesting. Again, can't tell anything about the movies that she likes because she's keeping it close to the chest, as you should as a new competitor. But she seems like a very fun person, and can't wait to see what she does as well.
Excellent. Yeah. There are the list is amazing of newbies that are coming in, and I don't say that with harsh words. I realize I used to online game quite a bit, and newbie was kind of a slang on that game. But the newcomers, and I'm the kind of guy that I'm drawn to personality first, and I get locked into someone based on their personality, and then I really hope that they have the knowledge. You know what I mean? And so far, I want to hear what you think, my Dan. But so far as personalities and newcomers, dude, Sonny and Kat have got me hooked, man. And I was interested before I saw them on Let's Get Ready last night. But they're just so delightful. And then when you think that they're willing to stick around and wait up till 2 a.m. to talk to those guys over there at Let's Get Ready, man, it was they've won me over. I love their personality, and the accent always helps. But what do you think, Double D? Who are you kind of favoring or maybe liking?
Well, I actually met this person because she was actually here in Chicago. She lived in Chicago. I don't know if she still lives here now. But Tamerlyn Chambers, I mean, I've been a fan of her since she was on Nostalgia Critic a while back, and I think she's still on there now. But I think she's really great. She even had a series where she was reviewing movies that she's never seen, and they were popular movies, and she's just such a delight. So I'm excited to I'm hoping someone drafts her just so the people can actually see her actually play and see her personality as well.
Yeah. And Daniel, you've gone over this list a great deal, obviously. So I'm just curious, have you thought about this, or if you've not intentionally thought about this as you were going through it, did anyone maybe pop out in your mind, like a potential Dan Murrell, a potential champ here, and not this year or next year, but I mean someone who will build up an immaculate record and be a long-lasting figure. And that's obviously very difficult to do based on people we know nothing about. But just based on your research, have you had any of those feelings about anyone?
I mean, I don't want to give too much away to protect like the like draft stock of these players as well as like their strengths and weaknesses, but I do think that Jacoby Bancroft can play a very strong game, and I do think he has the potential to be. I wouldn't call him the next Dan Murrell or anything, but he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in any match that he's in. And one other person that I didn't get into in my section before is Jacob Whitnabin, who I saw a video that he posted recently, and I don't really have game tape on him, but he's a Star Wars and IG player, it seems to be, and like coming in and claiming both right from the start. Like, we know what the Star Wars division is, so his knowledge base must start there. But I think that just calling your shot on both divisions at once, knowing that the points are worth slightly more in those divisions, and there will be one IG and one Star Wars match every week to at least start the season. So this player could be in very high. He has an absolute like load of draft potential to him. And if he like shows what he claims, then he will become a very hot commodity very quickly.
Awesome. And we got one more minute here. I want to ask you one more question here, and this may be another one where maybe you don't want to say too much. But out of going through everyone, was there anything that any two people who popped into your mind that maybe you thought could make a potential good team? Like as far as in the rookies.
Ooh, a team. Yeah. I wasn't even looking at teams. I was trying to like pit people up against each other in storylines.
We may have you think about that and come back next week.
Yeah, if she's playing teams and singles, like, because not all of these competitors have their divisions sold or available yet, but I think Beth May, who's a very fun character, could team up with. I'm not sure. Like, I would put her with Jacoby Bancroft, who's also from the other leagues, or possibly even the Rager, depending on, it all depends where they end up, because I'm not sure you want to stick two rookies together right away either.
Yeah.
You might want to pair one of them up with more seasoned. Yeah.
My mind is odd.
Yeah, I didn't do all of those other leagues have teams divisions as well, but it's harder because I don't necessarily know the names of the teams, so I can't.
Yeah.
Whose chemistry works the best.
Well, hey, thank you for that information you did give us. That's a hell of a lot more than I had before you gave it to me. That's for sure. And now we're going to move on to our next segment, which is one that I also am beginning to absolutely love because I learn things about the numbers. I'm not big on the numbers side of things, especially with this kind of sports, the MMA, wrestling, that kind of stuff. I don't know anything about that kind of stuff. So we've got Double D's sexy numbers, where our Dan, my Dan, is going to take us to that right now and give us some numbers.
All right. Well, this week, Christian Harloff revealed the new point system for 2021. And I basically said, well, what would happen if we applied those the point system to last season? So starting with the winner of the faction championship is Corruption. They gain 8 points with the new system. Adam Collins goes up by 4 points. Chance Ellison goes up by 1. The team Corruption goes up by 6. Elliot Dewberry goes up by gets deducted a point. Kaylee Wiggins goes down a point, and the Experiment goes down by a point. Coming in second place is the Finstock Exchange. The Barbarian goes down 2 points. Dan Murrell gains a whopping 17 points with this new system, which just proves that Gucci made a mistake in his drop with Dan Murrell. Mark Riley goes down 2 points. Ben Bateman goes up 2 points. John Roca goes down 2 points. The Founding Father stays the same, but Who's the Boss goes down a point. And Emily Rose Jacobson goes down 2 points because of her TKOs. And going into third place is Swag. Final Exam goes down 3 points. Chandru goes up by 8 points with his title defense. Ace Cabrera goes down 2 points. Liz Shannon Miller goes down 1 point. Lon Harris goes down by 1 point. So does Paul Yama. Rogue 2. Josh Makuga. That nets them a minus 2 points. Coming in fourth place is the Rock Stars. The Rock Stars. Alex Damon goes up by 3 points with his title defense. The Odd Couple gains 5 points. Jeff Snyder goes down a point, as well as Mark Andreyko. Josh Quivero, I'm sorry I butchered that name. Jivevada goes down a point, and the Wicked with goes down a point, and that nets the Rock Stars with 3 points, a 3-point gain. Going into fifth place is the Quirky Mercs. Shazam gains 6 points. Brendan Meyer goes down a point, as does Kevin Smith. John Humphrey goes down a point, and the Real Rejects goes down to a point. That nets them a plus 2 points in this new system. Going into sixth place is the Usual Suspects. Ethan Irwin gains 1 point. Janine the Machine gets deducted 2 points. Andrew Guy gets deducted up 1 point. Sabrina Graves gets deducted a point. And the family the family stays the same, but the Lethal Weapons gets deducted a point, which is a net loss of 4 points. Going on to seventh place is the Dungeon. Eric Zipper loses 2 points. Vinny Mancuso loses a point. Andreas Galago, I'm sorry if I butchered that name, loses a point. The Kooks Mess goes down a point, and the Butcher Boys go down a point, which is a net loss of 6 points. Going on to eighth place is the Den, where Ben Goddard goes down a point. The Pride loses 2 points. Brett Sheridan goes down a point. Paul Preston goes down a point, and Rachel Silverstrini goes down a point. And Tom and Paul go down a point. That is a net loss of 7 points. The Burning Droogs come in last place, where the only 2 differences is Warfather loses 2 points, and Category 9 loses 2 points, which is a net loss of 3 points. So with that, I want to have a small disclaimer. There has been several other people releasing numbers based on this, but I feel that my numbers are more accurate. The only difference is with the Let's Ready network. Their only difference is with Swag. They have a minus. Their only difference is 1 point from mine. But I feel that mine are more accurate because Excel does the hard work, leaving human error out of it. So unless something has been disclosed, I feel my numbers are more accurate. And that'll do it for the sexy numbers with me, Double D.
Yeah.
We seem to lost Jay.
There we go.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at Louis in the background here. He's he is as adorable when you see him behind the scenes, and you can't see him on the screen as he is when he is on the screen. Yeah, guys. I don't know, Daniel. Do you have any questions for Dan as far as the numbers are concerned?
I mean, I was curious, like, there were a couple of matches that I wouldn't have necessarily deducted the points from the factions just because they were awarded an extra point. Like Brett's match at Spectacular. I mean, actually, he was KO'd, but so he would lose that point. But I thought I saw one that, like, it might have been a 3-point match, and that's why. But other than that, I don't actually see any differences between the numbers. So
awesome.
The only two numbers that I was different from the Let's Get Ready network was swag, and it's only a 1-point difference. But that 1 point doesn't matter in the rankings overall because how I went down, we're pretty much the same. And it's just that 1 point difference, and I checked my numbers 5 times, and I don't find anything that is wrong on my end. So unless there's like one match that we can kind of zero in on, then we can maybe call it. But as far as I'm concerned, I think my numbers are more accurate. Just personal pride.
Yeah. At the end of the day, none of the rankings change between anybody's numbers. So what does it matter much?
Personal pride. Personal
pride. Yeah.
How do you guys like the new ranking system? Well, not ranking system, but points. The new point system that was announced. I mean, we've got the 7 points now for title matches, and
well, I'll take this one first. Well, for me, the TKO's point system and the knockout point system, that makes a lot more sense because with numbers and the way I've been kind of simulating all the matches, it's a lot easier to get knocked out rather than being KO'd. A technical knockout rather than KO'd purely. So awarding that extra point makes a lot more sense. And title defenses makes a little more sense just with 1 point. And obviously title matches worthing a big 7 points at the start. That makes a lot more sense as well. So it makes more sense that we're getting more points for special events like Spectacular and title matches and triple threats, and those I think should be worth more.
Awesome. Well, guys, that there was Double D sexy numbers. Thank you very much, Dan. Really appreciate it. Like I've said before, I'm looking forward to learning more about all this kind of stuff. It's not just the numbers. There's a few things that I'm looking forward to learning more about in the Schmoedown this year. But now, guys, now it's time to see that adorable Frenchie on screen in person. To join me now, Louis Monette, the Frenchie from Schmoes of the North. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I didn't know was cute. That's what I look like in the background. Just putting that. Okay, talk. I'm like, but people talk. Oh, God.
Well, it's cute to me because I don't understand what that means when I can't hear anything. So,
and I should have wrote it down. That's what I was doing, but I realized there was like awkward silence. Like, oh, God, what the hell is happening?
Oh, that's all right, man. I roll right with it, dude. It's life.
Yeah. Hey, man, it makes for fun conversations like this.
Certainly
Talking about fun conversation, the Frenchie corner's up, meaning I got two things to argue with you today, because as per usual, for the small little details, we never agree. All right, so for the first question is, I personally think that Ace could be shopping, draft-wise or free agent-wise. He could be shopping for a new place. You never know. But, sometimes switching it up, you're so close to the championship, yet no cigar, right?
Yeah.
So that being said, who should he go with, right? What is the faction that's going to open up the lockets to the championship in his regard? I'll start with you, my man.
All right. I'm glad you started with me because, like usual, even though I may not win these debates, it doesn't mean that I'm not right. So I'll tell you right now, man, I say the dungeon. I say Kaiser. Unfortunately, the Smets needing to take some time off this season. He has an IG vacancy. Now, you may say, what the hell does that have to do with Ace, Jay Wade? Well, I'm going to tell you what I would do if I were Kaiser. I would pick up Ace. Smets is out. I would drop Parker. I'm sorry. I personally like Parker. I like him a lot. But we're talking about the game here, and we're talking about bringing home some wins and making an impact. Mm-mm. So I say drop Parker. I also say drop Witt and put Ace in the Star Wars and the IG divisions.
No. All right, look, okay. Thank you. And now for some reasoning. Quirky Mercs, hear me out. The Quirky Mercs have a solid team, two individual players and a team. Teams might not, count as much, but Bibbs and the Kid are rock stars in their own merit. Now, Ace, right? Ace is looking for that championship. And championships is won by good direction. It's won by, a solid philosophy. And for me, that is Koi. Koi brought a championship to a new era type style team with the new era, rankings and everything. He is personally the best person to give that missing link to Ace. And also, personality-wise, Ace is not very a character, right? But you can see there's certain things he's doing. Is just go for the money. Let's do this type of attitude. Goes a lot better with Quirky Mercs than with Dungeon. Because Dungeon, Kaiser can do the blah, blah, blahs and everything. But it kind of distracts a bit personally for an Ace type character for what he stands for and where he's going, right? For me, Quirky Mercs, yes, Koi can be very loud, but he adapts. He's the one who adapts so much to the other person's personality. Petting the cat for, having the Bibbs type jokes. He adapts, and he will adapt to a fault for Ace and what he needs as a manager, and not necessarily what Kaiser's specialty is. And that favors Ace a bit more, in my opinion. And he won a championship, so you can't say nothing against that, my man.
Wolf. Frenchie. First of all, Smets was champion for a very long time under the reign of Kaiser.
But this year,
I'm talking. No. You talked. Okay, now I would never take anything away from Koi. A peek behind the curtain. Legit. I was not a fan of Koi's when he was announced as a manager. I had no faith in him whatsoever. He has completely changed my opinion on him. Okay, I think he's great. He handles his players very well. I love his personality. It's all awesome. Okay, that being said, now I see this more as a partnership rather than Ace would just be going under Kaiser's reign. Because Smets was the leader of that faction. They need someone to step in as the leader of that faction. That can be Ace. They also need a Star Wars player. No offense to Witt, but they need someone who can take it all the way. That's Ace. I also think Ace can kill it in IG. He could also fill in those shoes, fill in that spot for Smets. Hold on. And dude, now I don't have anything to back this up, and this is not no rumors or nothing. Just I'm thinking maybe Ace, having gotten so far he did, but coming up short. I would imagine he loves Winston, and Winston obviously is an extraordinary manager, but maybe Ace is a little pissed off. Maybe Ace is a little irritated and he's ready to go to the dark side. And if he's ready to go to the dark side and he's ready to kick everybody's butt and do whatever it takes to be the champ, then I think that's going to have to be with the Dungeon and Kaiser, dude. And not to mention all the other amazingly awesome factors that I put in there. You can, like I said, throw them in both divisions. You can clear up spots. Basically, you'd be getting one person in place of three. He would be filling three roles in the faction as far as a leader, IG, and Star Wars. And then
Well,
you have those other spots open to bring in more. You could even bring in another Star Wars person. Again, no offense to Wit, but this is the season. This is the time. You've got to go balls to the wall, dude.
and fast 30 seconds on that. I agree, but does he want the role, right? Or does he want the championship? It really
I think he wants it.
Well, that's the thing. You think, you don't know. We're not in his perspective. Yeah. I agree. If that's what he's searching, oh yeah. If he's searching just to be guided and be the next Damon, the next, Star Wars championship, and have more of a player-centric role, Quirky Mercs, hell yeah. All right. So look, on to the second topic. This will require maybe a bit longer, so we're going to go over 2 minutes. As a producer, I'm just letting you know we're going to cut 2 minutes somewhere else. That being said, okay. I forgot my question. Why do you smoke
matches
weed?
Online.
Why do you smoke weed, Louis? Yes. Does the
Sorry, Mom. He lives in Canada. It's legal there.
I completely assume it. Yes. Does team matches actually work online? Because, if I'm mistaken, Harloff is not a fan. It's going to get pushed for next season unless things change. Does it work, right? Because it seems to be a nightmare, but there's still a perspective to look at it. I'm actually a fan of what happened this year because, yes, there was bugs. It's got to be a nightmare for Harloff. It's got to be a doozy for him to actually organize that kind of stuff, right? But as a viewer, if we wouldn't have had teams this year because he would have never figured it out, we would never have had, Bibbs and the Kid versus Odd Couple, one of the most amazing matches of the year, right? So, yes, it's not fun and it's a nightmare. But the more you practice it, the more the same problems come back. You kind of already know what to do, and it becomes a bit of a question of habit, right? He can do that with teams and give us entertaining value because, yes, one-on-one is good, but there's something about the team's dynamic that just makes it so interesting that you can't find in singles, and it's going to be lacking in my heart if we really, truly miss it.
I got you on this one, baby. This one's mine. You just said it right there. You just made my argument for me. Dynamic. Okay. If you thought the dynamic was good in these matches, then you must absolutely forget what it was like pre-COVID and seeing these teams' chemistry and interaction together in person. There was nothing dynamic about it.
I get it, but I'm not talking about in the relationship. I'm talking about in what happens in the game.
Not even on a broad level, dude. It was sloppy. And when I say that, I mean that with all due respect, dude. For what it was done very well. But when I say sloppy, I mean just a lot of, okay, let's wait for this person to move out, these people to get out. We got to wait for and even in the edited ones. I'm not just talking about live. Even the edited ones. There was a lot of that kind of stuff that just, it is a fan. It took me a little bit out of the match. And I couldn't even imagine as a competitor how much that would take you out of the match in the moment. Because to us, that's like 5 seconds of waiting. To them, who knows how long it was.
But and that's my point, though. Like, from your perspective, you are probably the 1/10 of the type of fan out there. If we look at the numbers of the watches sometimes go between like 14,000 to the higher ones, like at 50,000, right? So for the hardcore person like you, that it irks, and I completely get it. I am a hardcore fan too, but I am also a fan of product, okay? Fan of what Christian is trying to build and his route to there. And as that kind of fan, just not knowing the backside stuff, just knowing the sport of it, I got excited. And I can only imagine maybe there's like, 2,000 of you going, but then still 12,000 saying, hey, this was a good match, right? Hey, I did not know who is this video Drew and her new partner, and they talk about it. That for me is more important than this makes no sense because we know too much about it, right?
Okay, well, I mean, okay, like I said, dude, this year was not planned like this. And the changes that Christian had to make, I've said it before, I just said it a minute ago, were done very well. It's done very well, but that doesn't mean it works. And that's the question I have written here that you were presenting. Does it work online? And I say no, it does not work online. There's just too much that takes the fans out of it. Let alone, like I said, screw us. Imagine how much and I've not spoken to any of the team competitors, so I'm not saying anything that someone's told me. No one's told me nothing. But I can imagine how it could throw them off too. And we're talking about numbers, stats, points to win the faction, to possibly become the player of the year, possibly become the teams of the year. And that those are the kind of things I would imagine Christian is bearing in mind when he makes the decision to cut back the online teams matches.
For sure. And and I'm not arguing like it can like makes absolutely no sense. I'm still being the devil's advocate, right, for why we should keep it, because yes, there is things that are harder, and the factions are, it could play into certain things statistically. But for those going to point of view of those who don't know anything about the background, it's a lot, especially for let's say they have new people on, right? Because of Skybound, we got an explosion of extra fans. They won't know teams until very later on. And we have probably a collection of the best memories of Schmoedown, of the most amazing moments, I personally think, in teams than in any other category. So they would miss out on that. That being said, let's go and to the next subject. We talk a lot. We love to talk. But you know what? I'm sure Double D and Canadian Dan might have some thoughts about this, right?
Yep.
All right. So thank you. See you later, Jay Wade. Whoop. I'm slow. I'm doing my best, people. I'm doing my best. All right. All right. I'll let you hash it out. You guys got a couple minutes.
All right. So, well, first, I guess I'm going first.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, personally, with Kevin Smith, Kevin Smith, he's had a rough year. He's had a kid, he's being married, and of course, his diagnosis. That's a lot. So him losing the belt, obviously there's a lot going on his mind, and that takes a lot of pressure. So obviously he's going. That's a contributing factor why he lost it. So I don't think that's responsible for Kaiser's role. So I don't think that Ace would be a good fit for the dungeon right off the bat, because even if he does go to the dark side, maybe the den could be better, or maybe the usual suspect can be better. But for Dan Murrell, maybe going to definitely a lesser known team, or lesser point earning team would probably be a good thing. But what do you think, Dan? What do you think?
Yeah, I'd say that I think Ace in the dungeon seems like a bit of overkill, especially if you're talking about signing him. I could see him being drafted into the dungeon, but with like the mainstay that's going to be Robert Parker, and you could see him pushing towards like a big star, like a Ben Bateman or a Ben Bateman or a Dan Murrell, because you need to shore up that singles and teams perspective if you're going with your loyalties in Robert Parker and Eric Zipper. Yeah. You're missing something there that is not specialty focused, and you look for that Star Wars player in the draft. And I do see Dan Murrell going to one of those lower point earning factions. So I could see him on the dungeon or the suspects personally. I think one of those two for Dan.
Yeah. As for teams, real quick, we don't know what is going on behind the scenes, like Jay said. So if it's a nightmare for him, I wouldn't know what to begin. It's probably a mess. It's probably trying to figure out, trying to look in something in a 1,000-page encyclopedia, and it's like, so we don't know. So if Christian says that it's a nightmare and he wants to do it not online, that's his call, and we just have to accept that, because if it's a nightmare for him, we just have to take his word for it. That's my belief.
Yeah, the teams match online, even just looking at it, it seemed so hard to do that respect the decision to, at the very least, push it to as long into the future as possible. You can always go back and find a way to refine them and do it all, and then like edit it and then put it out. So we can always do teams matches. What we can't do is like do teams matches badly live and then expect as many people to stick around, no matter the quality of the match itself.
I agree 100%.
Okay. I love you guys' thoughts. I really do, but I'm sitting back. I'm sitting back here losing my shit. Like, all I can think of is Roxy, Collider Live. Dude, with all due respect, my Dan and your Dan, Frenchie, you two, that was you guys critiquing my take on why Ace should go to the dungeon was a twat take. That was a Roxy twat take written all over it, guys.
You know, when Jay, wait, when everyone's crazy, the person's crazy.
I don't know. Whatever, guys. I'm glad our guest is here because I've had the pleasure of speaking with her a few times on a couple other different shows. She's absolutely delightful. She's always been very kind and generous with her time. And guys, it is time now. We've got Kate Mulligan, Schmoedown manager. Hello.
Hi. Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you? How are you all?
I'm doing very well.
I realized when I lifted my arms, it looks like I'm not wearing anything.
We don't mind.
Hey, as long as you don't show it.
I should put my mask over my shoulder just to
Kate, we've all seen you on your bed twerking during SE and live.
or on my closet, or anywhere one might be able to twerk.
Yep. How are you doing? First of all, it's been a while. How are you doing here?
I'm doing okay. We are taking down Christmas decorations today, so so that's why I sort of look like I have the sheen of sweat on me, because I do. But it's a sad time this year. I really could have used Christmas lights. Honestly, if I wouldn't have been shunned by the neighbors, I feel like I might have done them all year long. until
I don't
over.
decorate at all, so I never have anything to worry about. It's awesome.
This is for most of my Christmas decorations.
Oh, hey! Well, it's time to put that away now.
And in my case, how can you put nothing away? Because I don't have a tree. Not even at Christmas time. I don't have room, and I'm not a Christmas person. My girlfriend wants to kill me. We have a 6-month little baby, right? And she's like, 2 months understand Christmas. I'm like, eh.
Well, first of all, how's that going? Sorry, Jay, I just took over the show.
No, you're cool.
Go ahead.
Let me introduce you the people to Luna Jane. Come on.
Hi, Luna. 6 months. Oh,
yeah, and she's tall. She's gonna be a tall, skinny one, and she's gonna be a curious one. Come here, big girl. Say hi to Mama Bear herself.
Hi.
Your first public appearance.
Hi, Luna. Hi, Luna.
You seem very confused. It's like the black box thing, but on a computer. What's going on?
Oh my God, she's
all right.
Look at all that hair she has too.
I know, and she's got she has a butt. She has both mommy's and daddy's butt.
Yes. She got it from her mama. She got it from her daddy.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
no, don't go out to smoke. It's not an excuse to smoke. I'm not having the kid the whole show. Oh, God damn it.
So what does she think about the draft?
Yeah. Luna, do you think Dan Merle's going to go to the dungeon or to the suspects? Luna?
She's going to reserve her opinion. But might as well. She's going to be guest on a show because right now the girlfriend's going outside. All right.
Good. You know what? Mama needs a break. You got to give Mama that break. You're not gonna hear me say, "Get that baby off the screen, give her back to it." No, you give that Mama her break.
Yeah, not as good as pays dues.
All right. I do have want to get into some Schmoedown stuff with you, Kate. I was okay. Now, We were first introduced to you via Collider Live, then SEN Live, then you became a manager in the Schmoedown.
Yes.
So I would imagine, you built relationships with people before you joined the Schmoedown. And you've got 1 year, your first year under your belt as manager, and now we're going into the second year.
Yeah.
I'm kind of wondering if you could talk a little bit about the difficulty, perhaps, of your decision making here. That you need to maybe put some personal friendships aside, maybe some people you would want with you, but it's now about the competition. And as it's been dubbed, it is war. How has that been difficult for you? What's that been like this off season?
Well, it's a great question, Jay. I mean that. Last year I sort of thrust into the thing, and I didn't have. I didn't. I sort of was like, well, I'm doing this. It wasn't like a favor. Oh, she's so cute. It wasn't like a favor to Christian, but he was just like, this thing's happening, and Grayson, and so I was sort of like, okay, like it sounds great, and like I love this community. Let's get deeper into it. But I wasn't like, I'm going to be the best manager. I'm going to really score some points. And I felt like I drafted so well last year. And I loved every single person that was on the faction. Even if people forget Alex Marzonia was on the faction. He just never got a chance to play. And I think, COVID had a lot to do with that, obviously, because we would have had way more matches, I feel like, and it sort of got relegated down to singles tournaments and number one contender matches, basically. But I love them all, but also, and I think I did spend a lot of time being like, okay, well, Brandon Hanna has had a match this year. Saul's my other IG guy. I've got to get Saul into the tournament. And that obviously caused a stir because I was like, I want everybody to play. For the record, I still stand by that decision because I believe in Saul so much. I mean, Saul, I'm telling you, I'm Saul's number one fan because that guy, not only can he cut a promo, and not only does he have the funniest personality on the planet and is entertaining, but like he works and he knows stuff. And if you go back and watch that Brandon Hanna Saul match, like you could see that's basically when I really start caring because I was like, this is amazing. I was so proud of it. I was like, the only way I could have been happier about how you did today is if there had been a W next to it. Like, I'm so proud of, I was so proud of him.
All right. By the way, baby Luna Jade has to say bye-bye.
Oh, bye-bye, Luna.
All right.
Oh, she's so happy to see Mama. Bye, Mama.
And apparently the microphone was the most interesting thing on our planet. She's like,
yes, get that mic. You got a problem there if she wants to be talking in the mics. The life of a performer. But this season, I'll tell you what, I definitely, I just can't worry about people's feelings. I can't worry about, because at the end of the day, everybody wants the same thing, which is everybody wants to win, everybody wants to be faction, everyone wants to hold a belt. So I have to make decisions, not worrying about people's feelings, but what do I think is going to get the win? What do I think is going to make us the best faction? And the way that has looked and I'm sure I'm not giving you any information you don't know, is people knew that I wasn't locking any of my den players until I tried some people outside our faction. I was trying to get it's public. I was trying for Bateman so hard for a while. And I'm sure that if I had been on the den, I'd be like, what an asshole. But I think I then had a meeting with all of the den mates to sort of explain my strategy and what I was doing. And I'm like, I know this probably feels awful, but I feel like we got to aim there because Bateman's guaranteed matches and Bateman's held a belt and I think everybody sort of understood it, but I wouldn't be surprised if there were hurt feelings about the way I went over, did that. And, it's, to me, I don't mean it personally, but I'm sure it could be taken personally. And I think every manager is going through that. People, you have to lock 3 people. If you're Winston, who do you lock?
Yeah.
You've got 5 people to lock as far as I'm concerned. Whoever you let go, you obviously retain Chandru. That's a given. But then I'm not going to let Liz Shannon Miller go. I'm not going to let Ace go. I'm not going to let Paul Oyama go. And I'm not going to let Lon Harris go. He has to let 2 of those people go into the draft. And like that, I'm sure starts off with like a bad taste in your mouth for somebody that's like, I wasn't one of your top 3. Like what?
Right.
So I feel like Tom is not playing next year right now. So that was easy. I didn't have to make that decision. But I think, whoever I decide to go with, everyone else is going to feel really shitty. Like it's, if they had been on the den previously, but also I may be, going elsewhere with people too. But no matter what, it's just I hate making people feel shitty. And this is like, that's what the season is.
It's war.
It's war.
Yeah. And in war, emotion has no place.
You gotta stay cool and shoot, right?
Yeah. All right.
It's nice to meet you.
I know, it's so nice to meet you, Double D.
I'm really sad that you're not doing the Chicago accent anymore because I'm from Chicago. So in hopes to get that back, I got you some deep dish.
Oh God, is it Lou's or Gino's or Giordano's?
It's not because we're not sponsored.
Oh.
How do I get this store? What do you mean I have to do it online? You're not going to give me her address, or you could. No, we'll figure this out later. We'll figure this out later. So,
I love it. I love it, Double D. Thank you for the effort.
So my first question is this is your first season. Well, this was your first season as manager. So, what were some of the best moments as manager for this season?
I think when I sort of realized I loved being in person. And actually some of my worst managing moments happened then, but I loved being in person. And that was only the first 4, like I had 4 matches in one day that got shot in person. And that day it was like, that was the Festival Darlings day, but it was also the day that like Ben Goddard got introduced to the league. And I loved being there in person. I loved being able to like hug my players after something great happened. I really enjoyed the draft last year where, and I know that's such a weird thing to say, that was a good moment as a manager, but that was sort of when I was like, I sort of drew my line in the sand with Christian of like, I mean, he's been searching for a way since the draft to get rid of that accent. I mean, you bring up the accent, but after I said, he's like, stop the accent. And then the second time I go, Christian said to stop the accent. I don't think so, whatever it was. And I sort of was like, oh, like I can take some ownership of this character. I can take some ownership of the scene. He's still my boss and he's still the creative director. And like, I have to pivot when he says to pivot, but I sort of loved that. Like I pushed back on it. And then he was like, okay, I see what you're doing. Okay, let's make it work for us. And like, then that was then he built in that scene for Grace and I loved being able to do scenes with people in person. And that has been so hard because, the shooting a promo by yourself in your home the promos were the bane of my existence. And like, going back and forth with Shannon was fun. Like I enjoyed that. Like, but I don't know. It was just like, I have to come up with something to say by myself, like not playing off of anybody. Like it just, it was so fun to do those in studios. So best moments, sorry, I'm not even answering the question. I'm just talking in circles.
You're fine.
Yeah. Best moment, I love the in-person stuff. And I also have to say like, any moment when I could, when I got to make a decision that I believed in and got to stick by it, including the Saul decision. And yeah, I mean, it was like moments where I sort of felt like I was finding my footing, and I had a lot of fun shooting that last scene of the season too.
Yeah.
Which by the way, afterwards, so Kevin Smith was they were on the thing he was like in backstage of the StreamYards. Yeah. And afterwards he was like, what just happened? And we're like, he was like, wait, that was acting? And I was like, yes.
That's great.
And it's so funny because my own husband says to me afterwards, like later in the day, he's like, do you want to talk? And I was like, about what? He's like, just something like work, like maybe you should get in a fight with Christian. And I was like, did I get in a fight with Christian? What? Oh no, that was acting. He was genuinely like, how lightly do I need to tread around this woman? I heard her screaming in the office.
Maybe we'll get the Flirt and Flouse and Kate cameo in a Kevin Smith movie.
Yeah. No, just a Flirt and Flouse, I think. I don't think he was. I mean, Brett, the way those two, that's probably my other favorite moment of the season, is seeing Brett just do bits with a legend. Like the way that Kevin Smith played along with him was like, oh my God, we don't deserve either of these humans. Oh, it was so fun. I mean,
I was excited, and I was like, she's like, what's happening?
Yeah. Oh my God. That was a great moment. And I know Brett was like, I didn't want to lose that badly.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know, but also like Brett and I are so close now. Like when he spun that wheel, and I was like, I really thought, and in my head I was like, I really think you should stay with the first spin. And he's like, I think I'll spin again. He got the rock, and I was like, that could have gone better. Like starting to break character, because I was like, there's no way he knows any of this. The Tooth Fairy will follow him forever.
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention that you also didn't have like the worst on the online promo game either, because I think one of my favorite bits that were done was you passing like the like sanitary wipes through the screen to a competitor. And just the amount of setup that takes is more than enough to make it funny, and I really appreciated that personally.
Thank you. That was Sean Sullivan.
To touch on that and to stay within the Schmoedown, like, what were your favorite scenes to shoot within the promo thing, whether it be with another manager that you're competing against or with one of your competitors? That was just a lot of fun.
So there was actually, I shot a promo for the Brett and Kevin Smith match. I was not instructed that I needed to shoot a promo for Flirt and Flouse versus Smith. I knew that it was going to be Flirt and Flouse, but it was going to be a last minute reveal. So I thought my promo was supposed to be for Brett. So God bless Nerd Chronic. Eric was like, I'm so sorry I can't use your promo. I just wanted to, he took the time to tell me he couldn't use it. I'm like, oh, that's my bad. I thought it was a secret. No problem, whatever. But that is a promo you'll never get to see. But it was like the most. I mean, like I sent it to Brett, and I was like, "Is this okay?" But it was basically, I was like, "Brett? Oh yeah, no, he's seen a movie." Like it was the most like demeaning. It was not. It was like, I mean, I'll tell you what, he'll be funny when he loses. Like it was just like that was like a very fun one to do. And then Paul Preston and Sean Sullivan are two people who love to cut a good promo. So like Sean and we like talked for an hour one night trying to figure it out. Well, what color wipes do you have? And all right, so let's practice. If I hand it with my right hand, do you pick it? Like what side of the screen is it for you? Like we had to figure it all out. And then I think we ultimately decided it would be funny if it changed colors, but I can't remember if it ended up being the same or not, but like we looked for the same. It was like that one was work, and that was like still early on in the season where we're like, we're not going to be doing distance forever. I was like, but then eventually it just became a thing. It was like, cut a promo. Promos are due by the match today. And we're like, oh, and like so early on were like my favorite. I also had a run of them where I was like, hey, I'm outside. Hey, it's me. I'm outside Shannon's house, and I was just like outside of a tent. And then I was playing Roxy after that, and I was like, "Hey, it's me. It's Roxy. I'm at Roxy's house," and I was in my kid's playhouse. And then the third beat of that, and I can't even believe I'm telling this publicly. The third beat of that was I was in a garbage can, and I came out, and I was like, "Hey, I'm at Robert Meyer Burnett's house." But then
It would apply the Lon Harris right now, though.
Well, I'll tell you what. Then the thing happened with Robert Meyer Burnett, and I was like, "Pull the promo, pull the promo." It's because it's gonna feel like I did that in a loaded. But it was just the progression of the matches I had. It had nothing to do with him. It was just like a bit. So I was like, "Pull the promo. We can't see the promo." So you're gonna see there's like a lot of matches. You're like, there was no promo from Kate. One of them was because I cut it for the flirt and flouse, or didn't cut it for the flirt and flouse, and one of them was because I was like, pull it. But yeah, I mean, it was it would have been bad. I think it would have been felt way. I was like, I think it's going to feel too loaded. I didn't mean it that way.
Yeah,
so
it is what it is. You don't know what's going to happen.
No.
So it just ended up that way. It's just that was a smart thing to do.
Thank you. But that was, I think probably those early ones, like what you're talking about, Daniel, with the Lysol wipes, those were probably my favorite. And then also when Shannon and I had like, it wasn't quite like, it wasn't like a official promos, but it was like Christian had us do like a little Twitter war, like Instagram, I forget what it was, but it was like when she was like, your breath stinks. And then like, I like, in response, like took out 2 of my husband's guitars and like put an egg, like a shaker egg on my head, and was like, "You need to win. You should win."
What did I miss? I go away for 5 seconds, and I just see Kay going, yeah.
Just describing myself.
It's like back to alternate reality of just like a different Kay. Like, okay, this one's not on her meds.
That's true. But yeah, Shannon and I had so much, and then she would like, it would hit the internet, and I'd like text her and be like, "Oh my God, you're so funny," and then she'd be like, "I'm dying right now. How did you up me like that?" So we would go back and forth after. I loved that. I loved doing those with her. She's just a peach and so much fun. But also, I'll probably say mean things about her in character for the rest of the season. Yeah, she's the worst.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
All right. So my next question is, you kind of alluded to this beforehand, that if you, first of all, not everybody can go be first place, but my philosophy is, if you can't be in first, the thing is not to be in last place. And fortunately, you didn't come in last place; you were in 5th place, I believe.
Whatever's third from the bottom. I got the 3rd draft pick. Is all I know.
Now you kind of alluded to before. But what were some of the mistakes you made this season, and how will you change that for next season?
I think I have a real knowledge deficit when it comes to films. So like and Christian has always been like very supportive of that. He's like, you don't need to. You do good character work. You're a person that people can either get behind or get against. And he's like, so just manage these people, just help these people out. But like, I feel like that deficit has hurt me. In particular, I think the thing I feel the absolute worst about is in the match with Tom versus Jader. I think it was versus Jader. When the question was, who wrote, Sin City? And Tom had 3 answers. Frank Miller, Robert Rodriguez, or who directed? It was and Quentin Tarantino. And Jader had just Robert Rodriguez. And they took both answers. And Tom goes, he didn't say them all in character. And I should have had the knowledge. And I was like, and so I wrote to him in the private chat, do you want me to challenge? And he didn't see it because like the private, I mean, like he's in the moment. And it should have been challenged. Jader, and I love Jader, but it should have been challenged because on IMDb, it does say Robert Rodriguez and Frank Miller. And then like one of them is just like, if they didn't get the 3rd, that's fine, but he should have had at least 2 of those 3 according to how it's listed. And they accept it. And I was like, this is so weird. They're accepting it. I guess maybe like they accepted both. So it must be up for debate. It must be like, I just, for whatever reason, if I had known the film myself or if I had known that myself, but part of the problem is that like, the managers are not playing, because if we played, we wouldn't be any good. So like that, I don't think that that's exclusive to me, but something I realized is that like I needed to have, and Tom and I had a code when he wants me to challenge something. I needed to set that up. I needed to have like, all right, here are the reasons why you should break character, or in character, this is what you'll say if you want me to challenge something. Because then when Tom finally said, yeah, like he did later, like 2 questions down the line, said that should be a challenge. Then Courtney, who's like running the thing, I said, I wrote challenge, and she goes, it's too late. And I was like, you could see I was having this conversation. So then it turned into this whole thing where I felt so bad for Tom, because then I'm texting with Tom, I'm doing the private chat with Tom. And in the middle of that, he misses the next question. He like doesn't hear it. And he ends up winning the match. It all went fine. But like, I could see that he completely got deflated, because I'm talking to him while a question's being asked. And then they asked him to like, then I'm like, let me in. And they're like, what's going on? And like Mark Ellis got very frustrated with me, but I was like, I have to advocate for my guy. This is totally unfair, because I was talking to him. Can we get another question? I'm sorry to Jay, whatever. But I'm like, that was totally, I'm talking to him about this challenge that was supposed to happen. And I'm like, fighting. And Mark's like, well, maybe we can do another question. He was trying to figure it out. And then they're like, no, we can't do another question. All right, so let's take it again. Can we recut you giving the wrong answer? And I could see Tom deflate. I was like, they're going to not only, and I was like, then I was like, let me back in. I was like, I'm not okay with this. It's totally humiliating that he misses this, and you're going to make him retape him missing it. I was like, I'm not okay. Give me a second here. They're like, there's no precedent to give you a second. I'm like, well, I'm asking for a timeout. And I got to tell you, Jader was so chill about that all. He was such a cool customer about that. And I would have, if Jader was my player, I would have done the same thing. But he wasn't like, you're breaking the flow, lady. But I could tell that, like, and it was all because it was my actions. My player hadn't done anything wrong. It was my actions. I didn't know he wanted the challenge. I'm talking to him while the next question's being read in the private chat, because he's saying, yeah, that should have been a challenge. That is the sort of thing that I have to take away, is like, my players and I need to, being online distance is not an excuse. We have to talk about the stuff in advance. What do you need to have happen if you want a challenge? What are you going to say? What are the times that we feel like it's okay to break character? What stuff can come into the match and what stuff can't? You know, that's the sort of thing. I just didn't set up parameters with my players that way. And I think that would have helped that completely, because
and you see that this is what, like, a lot of people I see, like, oh, like, manager's not hard. You just have to speak and that's all. The structure needed that to have a perfect chemistry between, players and manager is not just run off and do your thing, boy. No, it's, you have to have a plan. You have to run on scenarios. You have to, know your player, like if they're doing ticks and, anything, you have to go in and out and think about it in advance. And that requires a lot of mental energy and willing to be able to establish that, right?
Yeah, it does. And I also feel like it wasn't as much the case with Tom. I mean, me seeing him deflate and like knowing that I've been the cause of that he had to now recut his mistake, because it was an absurd mistake. It was like, who starred and blah, blah, blah. And he like answered Will Ferrell. I mean, it was something that he would have never answered. It would be like, name a character from Sesame Street. And he said Will Ferrell. I mean, it was something he would have never answered. And I had to sort of know, like, we need to put, like, I needed to have him at least see me fight for him, even if I got shut down, even if Mark Ellis yelled at me. I needed him to know I was taking accountability for the mistake that I had. I did have his back. I caused that mess up. I was sorry, and I was going to fight for him. And that, I think, was enough to make him get his head. Because the truth is, when the players have had to fight these battles themselves, I think it's so much harder to get yourself out of that space. You think, like, I was in a bad space after that match for a while. And Mark Ellis ended up calling me and apologizing about what happened. And he was like, what happened had nothing to do with you. It was the last night's match. There was been a challenge, and we had a great talk, and like, nobody takes accountability like Mark Ellis. But that being said, in regards to that time with Tom, it was like, I just feel like the players, like, if they ever have to like navigate, like if he had to be in charge of challenges and then he had to have the fight and then he has to say, well, this isn't the, then there's no way that you can then go like, all right, I'm ready to answer questions now. So I think the manager's role really is to like sort of fall on the sword and like take on that like energy, because when anger gets into the game because this or that, that's when like you just don't answer, you don't play as well. So I think like the manager's role is definitely about like also managing the player, like figuring out what the player needs, like emotionally or whatever, but also like having the battles so that they can just stay cool and like in the game. And I think that's something that, depending on whoever I get, I'm going to have to relearn that with people as well.
Oh, that's what life is. Learning and advancing and taking the imperfections and putting into, something solid and I can't speak. All right.
no, that's exactly it though.
But that being said, I'm curious. I'm the rebel of the gang. Okay. I'm going to go out of Schmoedown. Maybe quick because we're slightly out of time soon. So I'm just curious. What is your top gut busting moments from SEN you've been on? So a moment you think right now and it still like cracks you up and you can't stop laughing.
I think there was like some in studio the Bonnie, when Christian was crying and was wiping his glasses, like was wiping his eyes from behind his glasses when he was like, Bonnie's probably taking a dump. And I don't know, I can't explain why we thought that was so funny. But then it turns out she was just playing with his kids in the backyard. I mean, it was like, but it was so funny. But also, honestly, Brett Sheridan, like, there are so many things he does. Like, he'll be like, when he doesn't understand something, and he'll be like, yeah, or like he did it the other day with Kaiser. He's like, yeah, I think Kaiser was distracted and wasn't listening. Why did you say the question again? And I just know it's because Brett can make me laugh so hard, and I feel like there was just times when he. I think also like very classic moment too is the Mark Ellis balls thing, when I was like, oh yeah, you still gotta suck your husband's balls, and Kristen like gives me a high five, and like Ben Goddard's in the corner like thumbs up, and then Mark Ellis goes balls, and like that's the sound right now.
Yeah,
we just had I just feel like those in studio moments, nothing could possibly compare with the chemistry of being in a room and being able to give and take. Like to actually vibe off of each other instead of, oh, no, you go. No, like, so I feel like my most favorite stuff really did happen in studio, and also like one of the first SENs ever was that Tyrannosaurus Rex thing when we, made fun of Christian for having a true freak out before the show and then being like, cool. He's like, hey, welcome back to SEN. I'm like, this is amazing because 2 seconds ago, this guy was, yeah, and also like treadmill nug day, I feel like we'll live in him today. He's like, yeah, I ate a nug off the treadmill. We're like,
oh my gosh,
what? But yeah, he's it's that in-person stuff I love.
Well, we are going to move on to our next segment here in a minute, but before we do that, speaking of SEN live, I got somebody, a special person who's going to call in here. Wants to ask you a question, Kate.
Oh my gosh.
Should be calling in any second now.
Is this person a she?
It might be. I'm not sure.
They may not identify as that either.
Oh, okay. Are they a they? I'm happy with that.
I don't know.
It could be non-binary.
I gotta tell you, I found the greatest account that I'm following.
Hello, you are on Speaking of Schmoedown with Kate Mulligan. Who do we got here?
This is Kaylin Rose.
I knew it! Hi, honey!
Hi! How are you?
Good, how's the baby? Big baby now.
Yeah, she's a year and a half old now. She's doing really good. She's probably in there destroying something.
A year and a half old, that means she has tricked you into thinking about a second.
Yes.
They're so amazing at that age. You're like, they're their own person. I love them. I could do this again. She's tricked you.
That's exactly what she's doing. And we're like, she needs a sibling.
She does.
Yeah, but so I wanted to ask you,
yes,
related to the Schmoedown,
yes.
give us the behind the scenes scoop of what exactly happened that you decided that you're going to drop the character.
Christian hates that I answer this honestly. He would rather that I do a little more character work on these behind the scenes things. I think Christian realized I was not going to be taken serious in free agency. I would not be a contender for any big players if I kept that character up, because I think I was sort of seen as a joke, and I didn't do the worst in the Schmoedown. Like Sam Levine and Kaiser finished behind me, but I do think that I think that there was concern that it had run its course, and also the truth that Grace and I get along. I mean, we adore each other. But I will say that I think she's moving on to do some other stuff, and I just think we wanted to sort of neatly tie up you got to do the accent. You're going to piss off the nerds in the Facebook group, which was the first scene, and then me sort of asserting myself. I think Christian was sort of like, we got to give you wings, and I think there maybe would have been a way to do that, like give me wings with having me keep the accent and the fanny pack. But I think it would have just been. It's almost like it's better to do a clean break from the character instead of being like, I still wear the fanny pack and talk like this, but now I'm smart. I think that would have been harder. So I think it was a good choice. And it did not come from me. I think I made that decision initially because my comfort level is in the comedy zone. And especially not having any clue about what Schmoedown really was going to require of me, I felt like, well, I'm not going to be good at it, so I might as well be funny at it. And I think I can be good at it, and I think I can have a really good upcoming season. And I don't necessarily have to rely on the comedy aspect of it. And I think Christian's just pushing me to grow in that way. As much as I'm like, oh, I'm gonna miss her. She wore one outfit and wore heavy, just like Mimi from the Drew Carey show, eye makeup, and the fanny pack. Although there were a couple of times I'm like, God, where's the pack? Where's the pack? I couldn't find it at times. But at the same time, it's pushing me out of my comfort zone, and it's gonna be a different season for everybody. So it's gonna be a different season for me too.
Well, I think you had to ditch the fanny pack anyway because they're coming back into style, oddly enough, and she would have been too stylish.
You know what's so funny, Kaylin? The fanny packs, by the way, those are legitimate. It is mine because I wore it. I wear them. I truly, I'm not kidding you. I actually have been. I brought Ben Goddard a birthday gift. We did a distance drop off, and I was like, well, now I really wear a fanny pack. I've truly shown up. I have a Disneyland fanny pack, which has been amazing in the pandemic because I can be hands free. I don't have to put my purse in a cart. I just have it on my waist.
I got a quick follow-up to that. I'm sorry, Kaylin. I have to ask this because you're known for pulling things out of that fanny pack to give to people. Has there been anything you've wanted to put in there that is not fit that you've tried to fit in there to give to someone?
I've tried a whole Chicago pizza. That was sort of there was certain things that that was part of the bit. I forget what promo it was. It might have been the Lysol wipes where I just had it sticking out. There was one. God, what? Oh, it might have been. There was I maybe had to go back and recut it, but I pulled a lightsaber out once, but it was Mary Poppins style. You couldn't really see. It was I was like, oh, and I showed the. But a lot, the problem is that if I'm shooting these promos, it means that my husband's with the kids, so I have to shoot myself, so I can't get different angles and stuff. So for whatever reason, that one didn't end up working, I think. But yeah, I always have thought the funniest. I'll tell you what, there have been things that I wanted to pull out that I'm like, oh, it's a kid show. I can't. There have been times that I would
give us an example because
yes.
This is not necessarily.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind if kids watch it, but it's not quote unquote a kid show. So.
Right. No, I would be like, oh, if I was cutting a promo against Chandru, I would be like, oh, I got one. I got something for you in the fanny pack. You know what I mean? I would have pulled that out of the fanny pack, or like even a note or something that would say like, "Go fuck yourself." Oh, sorry, I don't know how that got in there. Oh, here's like, stuff like that. I wanted to be more profane about it.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, like pulling out my middle finger was one that I wanted to do multiple times. But I don't know why I used Chandra as an example. I only had to cut a promo once, and it was not. I gave him a dum-dum, I think.
So is that a hidden message that we should not expect you trying to get Chandru?
I'm pretty sure if Winston doesn't like Chandru, we can all admit Winston's a dum-dum himself. So I don't think Chandru's going to be available.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It will be available.
Yeah.
But Kaylin, thank you for calling in and saying hello to Kate. I knew that you would both enjoy it. So.
We love each other, Jay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm so glad I got to talk to you, Kate. Oh, and
Hi.
hi.
Hello.
Pookie.
Pookie, I miss Pookie. Pookie, nobody else's husband's my stand now. Pookie, I need you back in my life.
All right. Hey, thank you also, Kaylin, for calling in. Really appreciate it. And I will talk to you later, Kaylin.
Bye.
Bye. And for those of you who may be lost as to who that is and why any of that mattered, Kaylin was my original co-host on SEN Afterlive and SEN Live After Show I used to do. She was also one of 4 hosts on a Collider Live After Show we used to do, which is where we first met Kate. So yeah, it's been over a year ago since we first had you on a show, and like I said when you came on, you've always been very gracious and generous with your time. I really appreciate it.
Well, I really appreciate you guys caring to talk to me because
it's an honor. You made me pee on myself more times than I would want to admit. So, hey.
That's
my life is complete.
Comes in handy. The dick bib never fails. I mean, technically, if you watch the league, it's called the P bib, but I just think the dick bib sounds better. But yeah, Taco and the
would
from the league.
How good was that show? That show was
so good.
Mean, I can't rewatch it without being like angry that Steve Ranazizi lied about being in the towers on September 11th, but at the same time, I'm like, he's really good in the show. And Taco, dude, John LaJoy is like that. Like, I'm like, I don't think that guy's acting.
No. He's
a proper freak show.
Yeah, he's from mine and Frenchie's hometown of Montreal, and he's actually French speaking and second language English, and like he's a musician as well. If you go look him up on YouTube, he makes some real terrible songs about. In the pop genre, but all vulgar.
About how men are smart and women are stupid, I believe, is one of the songs I've seen on there.
Wait, his name as an artist? I forget. I heard a podcast with him once. What is he? Does he just go by Jean LaJoy?
Yeah, just Jean LaJoy.
Oh, I for some reason thought, okay.
Why are we talking about Jean LaJoy? Okay.
Because he's in the guild.
Because we got 2 French Canadians on here.
That's right.
Why.
But no, I'm sorry. He's from Montreal. He's not French, okay? I am French. How can I say this? Very Irish more than French, right?
I don't know. It's Canada, man. I don't know what goes on up there. It's just fucking cold. That's all I know.
I'm the true French Canadian.
There you go. Now I can place that accent. Oh my God. You just like made your accent thicker when you're like, I'm the true French Canadian.
Oh no. I can really talk like a real Quebecois that's out of the Montreal, and it's like a very, we have like 2 cows as neighbors, and we do the poutine in our backyard. That's the real Quebecois accent.
I'm the opposite, but when I'm speaking French.
Oh my gosh!
You guys can both be Schmoedown managers.
It would be a dream of mine. I'm not a player. I'm a manager.
There you go. I like it. You know, it's funny this year. I don't know if it's been announced to the public yet, and I don't think Christian would mind announcing it. But every manager has to get an assistant manager this year, and it cannot be a player. It cannot be anybody.
Wow.
And I don't think there's like they have to be somehow loosely connected. So it has like I might be able to see if, Ken Knapsack's not a manager this year, but like maybe he would step in for me as assistant manager. But we actually have to declare it, I think, by the draft. We have to say who our assistant manager will be.
I've actually thought about this, and you specifically, Emma Fife is who I've thought of as your assistant.
You know what? That's a great thought.
And she's original Den as well, correct? So
she's the reason I'm even the manager is because she didn't want to do it. And she like pulled out at the last minute, not in a bad way. I mean, she just look at her career is massive. Like she's busy. But yeah, that's a great thought because even if it, yeah, that's a great thought. Thank you, David.
You're very welcome.
I will take that Colonel with me.
All right, and if that happens, then be sure to give me credit, please.
I sure will.
Thank you very much, Kate, for joining us. It's been absolutely amazing and awesome to talk to you again. And it's the second time out of a few times that I've actually got to see you.
I know. I like it. Well, thank you all, Daniel, Frenchie, Double D. So nice to meet you all. Thank you for the pizza, Double D. I'll send the PO box where you can send it.
Okay. Good to know.
Bonsoir.
Excellent. Have a great day, Kate. Thank you, and good luck this season.
Merci beaucoup.
Ça fait plaisir, ma chère. Puis bonne soirée. Puis à la prochaine.
He said rapey. I don't know what that means.
That being said.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that was great. Kate Mulligan, everybody. She's just always been nothing but an absolute delight and pleasure. So yeah, be sure and check her out on SEN Live. Brett and Kate's play date if you were on the SEN Live patron. And of course, yes, she is manager of the Den in the movie Trivia Schmoedown. So right now we're going to wrap it up really quick. We're going to go over just by a little bit. But we're going to do hard questions now. So we're going to take both Dans out for a minute. We got, okay. Now this started, I think this is good to have as a segment because there's a lot of stuff that people don't talk about properly, and I'll admit, and Christian actually just talked about us last week on Backstage, and I was happy to hear him say that he recognizes that I'm mellowing out, and I'm trying very hard to take a different and more civil and respectful approach to these things. But I have questions all the time and stuff. But I've got one for real here. This is something that I've railed on really hard in the past, and I admit I've been harsh about it. But I want to have a serious and calm discussion about this with you. Now, there's something here that I have to bring up, and I have 2 points of view. Like as far as I think there are two possibilities. But I think you may have a third possibility, Frenchie. But let me lay this out here. I have taken a great issue with the way that Brandon Hanna handled Ken Knapsack when he managed him in his match for the Burning Droogs. Now, I will also, I want to say that this is not any kayfabe, as they say, because in the past I pick on Brandon Hanna a lot. I have a nickname for him. This is not that segment. Truth be told, I do enjoy his work as a heel. I think he does a good job at it. And I don't like his character, but I love to not like his character, if that makes sense. That's a compliment. I do think he's doing a great job with it, and I enjoy watching him. He is a solid player. That being said, the way that he handled Ken Knapsack when he managed him, like I said, in my mind, there's two things that could have happened here. One, he very poorly managed Ken, and it honestly did affect Ken and the outcome of that match and Ken losing that match. The way Brandon berated him and belittled him and picked on him and all that. Yes, it goes with his character, but one possibility is that was legit. It really did affect the outcome, which hurt not only Knapsack's performance and his career stats and all that as a player, it hurt the faction and the faction's points and all of that. Or it was that entire thing was scripted which means that it was scripted that Ken would lose, which I do not believe that's the case, because I've heard Christians say several times that, you know, in wrestling, of course, yes, results a lot of times are scripted, but this is trivia. We cannot, you know, that's the sports side of it. We can't script the wins and losses. So I don't think that's it, because if that were it, then that means for the sake of storyline, they threw a match and it ended up causing real players real career stats and numbers and stuff like that. That's why I've always been of the opinion that that was more real than it wasn't real, and Brandon was perhaps way out of line and did some real damage there.
Well, look, you got the part of reality is here. What's missing is the middle here, okay? Yes, there is scripting, okay? Scripting is necessary to have these kind of characters, these kind of dynamics. The way I see it, and again, it's funny, Christian's like, Louis goes from a wrestling point of view. To be honest, I just got into wrestling recently. It's more of a structure point of view, right? I started my own call center. I manage a call center. I understand that, it's not just one perspective. And what's missing, though, what I connected with wrestling is the fact that, they probably have cue cards of what their character is and how they should approach, what emotion they should approach this situation. But the end result, they don't know what they're going to say, right? The free for all, what they're going to say. But they understand that you have to be angry and you're going to get hit by a chair and the new partner is going to come out. Fill in the blanks. Then that's what I think happened with like that match. I think Knapsack signed off on it. I think that he knew exactly the emotion, what kind of like attitude he's going to get. And they just fill in the blanks. And that's what, Kristen's vision was, or someone's vision anyways, was of this situation. Maybe it didn't work or it got too awkward because it was just too much, right? Out of Hannah's perspective or Hannah's side. But personally, I find that it was already signed off and the match, wasn't really necessarily affected by the circumstances. It was, more other quantities that happened that, it kind of effed up. But no, I like also a lot of things in the SCN world. I find that, there's a lot of things that, they probably understand what their character is and they're going to insult each other and be, that. And at the end, off screen, we don't see it. It's like, hey, that was awesome, boys. Thank you for doing it. And, and everyone goes on the side, because if it was like that constantly and back and forth, I don't think we would have a Schmoedown because it would be chaos, So I think there's a lot more things we don't understand in the background than we should.
Right. And I get that, but the thing I still wonder about, and I'm still unclear as to how I really feel about it, but, and I get what you're saying there as far as how there's that middle ground of, okay, we're going to hit these strides and, you're going to be kind of a jerk and you're going to do, but you're really going to play the match and try to win. I get what you're saying, but at the same time, that's why it's hard for us as fans, because we, like you just said, we don't see backstage behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. So, we don't know what really does affect the players negatively or positively. I mean, and a lot of it also is because Ken Knapsack is a legend in the Schmoedown in his own right, and so I think the expectations were so high on him from us fans that his performance just seemed way off, that in my mind, based on what I saw in his performance that wasn't up to par, that it would either be, like I had said, it really did affect him, or it was thrown. Again, I do not believe any of that, like it was thrown or anything. I do not believe that happens whatsoever. But I do know exactly what you're saying, because Ken was also involved in another situation kind of like this when he ditched Rachel Cushing and she played the team's match 1v2. So, I mean, this has happened before. And again, I don't think that match was thrown at all. Rachel could have won that match, but it's hard when we aren't privy to everything.
You're not wrong, because
Which we shouldn't be. I'm sorry. We shouldn't be privy to everything. I want to make that clear that I'm not saying we are entitled to know. That's what makes the entertainment side of the Schmoedown so much damn fun, is that we don't know, and we get to have conversations like this and speculate and wonder.
That being said, that effect that you're saying that kind of interrupts the match or changes its destiny, right, can happen because that's what happens with freeform things, right? You kind of like, okay, here's the emotion, go. But if, I'm not talking about Hannah, this would be anyone, okay, anything. If at one point they use something personal from the other person and go a bit too close from home, right? Or it's starting to fringe a line for the other person, and that other person doesn't, and the person doing it doesn't realize they're fringing on it, right? Then you can create these dynamics. But this is just a circumstances of adapting to, free flow, say what you need to say, just stay in the character. It's a learning process. And sometimes I'm sure you can cross a line, and that might have happened with Hannah, or it could happen with other ones, but it's part of the game. It's part of freestyling and doing a sport at the same time.
Yeah. And that's what's, like I said, that's what makes it so entertaining, is because you have the character work and the storylines mixed with the legit competition and trivia. But you get into areas like this where you wonder what if anything negatively affects the outcome of the competition side. And it's something that, dude, I mean, I'm sure there'll be matches this year and in the next seasons to come where we'll be wondering the same thing. How much does the character work affect the storylines, because we know that, or the outcomes of the matches. So we know the outcomes of the matches certainly affect the direction the storyline goes, but we don't know how much it affects it in the opposite way. So,
all right. Well, thank you again for an amazing hard questions. And by the way, people who are listening, okay, because hard questions are interesting to talk about, but they're hard to find. Okay, if any of you guys have suggestions on what we could talk about as hard questions, I'm not debating. That's Frenchie's corner. That's my thing. But really have a reflective analysis on the sport itself. Let us know on Twitter. Where can they find the Twitter, sir?
They can find the Twitter for this show at Speaking of Schmoedown. Or listen to me. There's my first faux pas here. Actually, you can find it at the JCast Network on the YouTube and also on the podcasting platforms. And also that would be where you would find it on the Twitter at the JCast Network.
So I'm those questions.
I'm still on cloud nine from talking to Kate. She does it to me every time.
She was awesome. Yeah. All right.
But yeah, that's and please follow our show. Go to the channel, sub to it. Follow us on Twitter. Let's get our subs up there. I think we've got 17 subs right now, which is awesome. I'm not complaining at all. I love it. Thank you all so much for the support. But let's get the subs up. Let's get the shares, the likes up. If you could, please go to the podcasting platforms. Sub there, rate. It's free. You ain't got to do nothing. Just give us some love there. That'll help us out. And we will definitely be back next week. We got Tim Sim coming on next week. I know Double T's very excited for that. But until next week, want to also thank Daniel Maple Dan, as our Dan has given him the name, from Schmoes of the North. Why don't you go ahead and tell people where they can find you at and what you work on over there at Schmoes of the North. You guys do some really good stuff.
Yeah. You can find us over on Facebook at Schmoes of the North, a Schmoedown fan page, where we run some discussion posts, and also a fantasy league that I run, where you get to draft your own players and play with a bunch of different managers as if you were Kate or Roxy or Shannon, except it's a little bit more complicated because teams in the Schmoedown, they're not always teams in our leagues, so there's some different point structures, but it's more or less the same as what they do in the proper league. And then on Schmoedown Night in Canada, we recap the week of Schmoedown matches and just kind of find some topics on players who played that week to go on many tangents about usually. Less of a rigid structure like this show has. We just kind of go off the cuff and talk about whatever. And then Northern Consultations is our interview show where we have people who are from the Schmoedown sphere. We've had Tim Sim, we've had managers, we've had competitors. Just anyone connected to the Schmoedown is welcome to come and sit down and talk with us. We recently had the Rager, Rick Radis, for a really fun interview. And I can be found on Twitter myself down at Avengers_SOTN, which I added here just for the plug. And that's about all.
Excellent. And we got our Frenchie back here too now. Having some technical difficulties today. That's okay. I had some talking difficulties earlier. But Frenchie, why don't you tell folks where they can find you at?
The Schmoes are North Twitter, as per usual. And I don't know what Daniel said because, again, I wasn't there. But don't forget to follow Schmoes are North. Press like, sub, notification. Let us have some fun with you, you guys, and you guys have some fun with us. Communicate with us on Twitter. If there's anything you want to see, anyone you want to see on the show as well, and just bring out your thoughts. We appreciate the support, and we love you all.
And Double D, where can they find you at, bud?
You can find me on Twitter at Dan Dolinsky. All my numbers will be posted on my Twitter, so be sure to check that out.
Excellent. Double D, sexy numbers. I like that. Double D and sexy. They go anyway. Thank you, Roxy, because Roxy is the inspiration behind that, of course. Thanks, hell yeah, guys. Next week we will be back. Like I said, we will have Tim Sim on and another Frenchie's Corner and the hard questions and all that great stuff that you had today with the same great people. And everyone have a great and wonderful week. Be safe out there.
Bonsoir.
You want to hear something funny? The mic wasn't on that whole time.
No way.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, wow.
So smooth.